G'day, got a little bit of firewall action on the hot rod. So I've made a little MDF hammer form for rolling the edge all the way around, and it's a good thing if your panel's going to be flat, and it's a pretty easy thing to shape, and you can put little details like this in there too. A little bit of bead rolling and a bit of power hammer work, just tightening up this bottom roll coming back into the existing sheet metal here. So bit of firewall action, and I've gone and welded up the vents on the side here already, and we'll continue with this for this video. And cheers for tuning in, and hope you guys enjoy. I'm going to start this firewall on the hot rod here, and I'm going to start out with a nice cardboard. This stuff's called ram board, and I think it's the stuff you roll out on floors, but it's really nice to mark out on, and once you roll it out, sort of flex it a little bit, it comes out really flat. It's nice to cut. So this is my preferred board for making cardboard templates. So we'll get into it and do a couple of templates for this firewall here, and then see how it goes. This front section sort of roughly been cut out, and give me some sort of shape, something to make a template to. This front flange was actually tilted up quite a bit, and I needed to shrink it and bring it down a bit. So I do have a tool that I made for shrinking this edge, and I'll have a little video coming up on that tool, so keep an eye out for that. So I've gone ahead and shrunk this edge a little bit in through here and sort of brought that edge down a little bit. So now it's time to do a bit of the template. I have cut this bit of card out already, the stuff I was showing you before, and I've gone and put a ruler on and cut a straight edge all the way along here on the bottom, and I've put these grips on here marked down to the point of where it's going to roll and come back, so I can place the card on top there, and then mark out all my material and make a nice little card pattern here. So I'll get into the card pattern, transfer it to some steel, and then we'll get shaping. So the pattern's done, and trying to do a bit of a rolled edge and extend off where this fold line will be, add a little bit of extra material for where it's going to fold and meet up with the sheet metal that's already there. And this is a part of metal shaping that it's good to have a few little carpentry skills and some tools in making some timber stuff. I'm going to make a hammer form for rolling this edge. I was going to do it in the hammer, and then I've got to make some tooling and stuff for it, so I just thought I'll get some MDF and I'll do a hammer form, because it's got this funny little bit up in the top here where it sort of changes shape a little bit, and that is to meet up on the firewall there where the bonnet hinge, because the bonnet hinges in the center, so it'll be pretty good just to hammer that in and shape that around a bit of timber. So makes it a little easier, and yeah, so I'll cut this out of the bit of MDF here, and then I'll make a bottom and top, so like a bit of a sandwich plate, run some bolts through there, and then router the edge. I've got a nice little router bit with a curve on it, and then I'll just run around that edge, router it, then it's shaped and curved. So we'll get into that, make the little hammer form, and then start hammering. top plate is slightly smaller than the rest of the bottom plate that I'll be hammering around. And the reason for that is so you've got room to put a tool in there and bring that around and do the shaping. So this is how it's looking. It's routed all the way around, and then I've actually routed the bottom too, so the bottom matches with the roll. When I go to putting the bend on the bottom down to meet with the existing sheet metal that's there, I can clamp this to the edge of the bench, get a nice bit of timber and put some pressure on and bring that fold down, and that'll roll with the same roll that's on everything else here. So that's something to note too. And the blank's been cut. I've added extra material around the edge to allow for the roll going around, and the extra material at the bottom for the fold. So there's added material and everything, and this is looking pretty good and ready to start hammering. So we'll go and hammer it first, and the first thing I do is I use a nylon block and chase all the way around these edges with the nylon block first and bring that around, and then I'll come through with the planishing hammer and clean it up all on the rest. But that's just a good way to get the initial roll happening, and it doesn't leave a crazy amount of marks. And another thing to note too is the motor's in the car, and the motor's in there for clearance purposes and make sure everything clears. And another thing is to drop a fire blanket over your motor, whether it's a customer's motor or your motor. You want to be looking after that. You don't want any dust or sparks or anything dropping that. So if it's the motor you're using and it's not a dummy motor, look after it, tape things up, and you'll be thankful for it, and look after your customer's stuff. So just keep that in mind when you're doing stuff like this as well. And yeah, so we'll hammer this around and fit it up to the car and see how it's looking. The hammer form worked really good. So I've fully hammered it up all the way around the outside, and then that nice little roll is on there, and this little detail up here in the top for the hinge, that's in there too. And I've rolled the bottom with a block of wood. It was good, but it was a little bit looser than I thought, so I ran it through the power hammer on some tooling that I had that was set at 90 degrees. So this fold's almost 90 degrees, and I just ran it through the hammer, tightened it up, and then just open it up just a little bit. So next thing will be welding up these holes, and the reason for the holes is to bolt these two plates together. You don't want the sheet metal moving around and changing position and throwing your lines out, so it's good to keep that locked into place. And run through the bead roller and do a little bead design all the way around the outside, and then this panel will be done and ready for welding in. that's it for this episode. Just a nice little example of what you can do with a bit of wood, and finishes off this really nice. You can do that whole edge if you want to in a power hammer, and you can do a similar thing to what I've done with the MDF, where you cut a bit of MDF, put some bolts in there, and actually use the MDF as a guide, or shrink and stretch a little bit of material as a guide as well for where your hammer tooling is going to go. But because the angle was changing direction a little bit in a few different areas, it was just easy to do MDF for this. And another way you can do it is in a bead roller as well, with a bit of like a rolled tool in there, so you can go that way as well. But this is a pretty easy way and a pretty quick way to do this sort of thing. So I hope you guys learn a thing or two, and cheers for tuning in. That's it.